Long before maps were accurate and kings believed the world ended where their power did, there lived a shepherd named Elias. Elias was not famous. He was not rich. He was not brave in the way songs are written about. What Elias had instead was a quiet mind, sharp eyes, and a habit of thinking 3 steps ahead, mostly because sheep by nature are always thinking 3 steps behind. Elias lived in the hills of a temperate land far from deserts and jungles. Rolling green slopes, cold mornings, mist that clung to your boots, and winds that whispered like old storytellers. His village, Brindleford, sat between the hills and the King's Road, a road so important that the king himself believed it existed because of him. The king's name was King Aldric the Magnificent. He insisted on the title. Others insisted on whispering. King Aldric ruled from a tall stone castle with banners, guards, and mirrors, many mirrors. He admired himself often, convinced wisdom followed beauty naturally. Elias, on the other hand, admired his sheep, not because they were smart, but because they were honest. When sheep didn't understand something, they simply stared. The king never did that. Elias's days followed a simple rhythm. Wake up before sunrise. Argue gently with a sheep named Butterhorn who refused to move. Count the flock 3 times because Butterhorn liked hiding behind rocks. Eat bread so hard it could be used for defense. Think. Thinking was Elias's real work. He thought about weather, about wolves, about why sheep ran toward danger, but kings ran toward praise. And sometimes he thought about the rumors. King Aldric is planning a grand inspection, villagers whispered. He wants to know who is useful and who is not. They say taxes will rise again. They say he wants more land. Elias listened. He always listened. One afternoon, while Elias sat on a stone playing a flute badly enough to scare crows, a royal messenger arrived on horseback. The horse looked exhausted. The messenger looked offended by grass. "Are you Elias the shepherd?" the man demanded. Elias looked behind him. "No," he said calmly. "That's Butterhorn." The messenger frowned. "I mean the man." Elias nodded. "Ah, yes, that's me then." "You were summoned to the king's court." The sheep gasped, or maybe they just chewed louder. "What?" Elias asked. The messenger unfolded a scroll dramatically, though the wind immediately tried to steal it. "His Majesty requires counsel from practical minds." Elias blinked. "Has he tried asking his shoes?" "They spend more time on the ground." The messenger did not laugh. Royal messengers rarely did. The castle of King Aldric was everything Elias expected. Large, cold, echoey, filled with people who walked fast without knowing where they were going. Elias was escorted through halls where paintings stared down at him, mostly of King Aldric, painted at different ages, all somehow identical. Finally, Elias stood before the king. King Aldric sat on a throne polished to near blindness. He wore a crown heavy enough to bend his neck slightly forward, giving him a permanent look of suspicion. So the king said, "You are the shepherd." "I am," Elias replied. "And you are very shiny." The court gasped. A guard reached for his sword. The king smiled. "I like honesty," Aldric said. "It is rare, like humility or silence." Elias nodded. "Silence is valuable. Sheep teach you that. When they are quiet, something is wrong." The king leaned forward. "I hear you are clever. I hear you are powerful," Elias said. "Rumors are generous to both of us." The king laughed. He enjoyed people who entertained him, especially when they didn't realize they were doing it. "I have a problem," the king said, "and clever men amuse me when they try to solve it." Elias waited. "My kingdom grows," Aldric continued, "but my treasury does not grow fast enough. People complain of taxes. Nobles complain of boredom. Farmers complain of weather. Everyone complains." "Yes," Elias said thoughtfully. "That sounds like people." The king frowned. "Careful." "I am," Elias replied. "That's why I still have all my sheep." The king studied him. "I want you to advise me. Stay at court for a season." Elias raised an eyebrow. "And my sheep, they will manage." Elias smiled softly. "They won't, but you will." Life at court was a strange pasture. Instead of sheep, Elias watched nobles. They moved in herds. They followed the loudest voice. They panicked easily. Within days, Elias noticed something important. The king did not lack money. He lacked understanding. Projects were started and abandoned. Roads were built where no one traveled. Statues were erected to honor victories no one remembered. One morning, King Aldric announced a grand plan. "I shall build the greatest wall the kingdom has ever seen," he declared. "It will protect us from enemies." Elias cleared his throat. "Which enemies, your majesty?" "All of them." "And where will the wall be?" "Everywhere important." Elias nodded slowly. "How tall?" "Tall enough to impress." "And how long?" "As long as needed." Elias smiled. "That sounds expensive." The king bristled. "Greatness is expensive." "Yes," Elias said. "So is foolishness. But foolishness gives worse returns." The court went silent. The king stood. You dare challenge me?" Elias bowed. "I dare save you money." The king paused. Then he sat back down. "Explain." Elias proposed something simple. Instead of one massive wall, he said, "Strengthen key towns. Improve trade roads. Invest in communication." Enemies fear organized kingdoms more than tall stones. The nobles murmured. They hated simple ideas. Simple ideas made them unnecessary. The king stroked his beard. "And how do you know this?" Elias shrugged. "Wolves don't attack the biggest flock. They attack the confused one." The king laughed. He liked metaphors. They made him feel wise. "Very well," Aldrich said. "We try your way." The kingdom prospered. Trade increased. Bandits disappeared. Taxes stabilized. People praised the king. The king liked that part most. But praise is a dangerous thing. It grows fast, and it feeds on truth. As months passed, King Aldric began to believe something dangerous, that he had always been this wise. He stopped listening. He interrupted Elias. He replaced advice with speeches. One day, the king announced a contest. "I will test wisdom," Aldric declared. "Anyone who solves my riddle shall be rewarded." Elias sighed quietly. The riddle was complex, layered, and unnecessary. Most scholars failed. Some tried flattery. Others tried bribery. Elias solved it silently in his head. But he did not speak. The king noticed. "Why do you not answer, shepherd?" Elias looked up. "Because the riddle is flawed." The court gasped again. They gasped often. "Ow!" the king demanded. "It assumes the king is always correct," Elias said gently. "That makes it unsolvable." The king's face darkened. "You mock me." "No," Elias said. "I respect you enough to tell the truth." The king stood. "Enough. I grow tired of your cleverness." Elias bowed. "Cleverness grows tired of kings eventually." Silence fell like snow. "You are dismissed," the king said coldly. "Return to your hills." Elias nodded. "I was hoping you'd say that." Elias returned to Brindleford, to Butterhorn, to quiet mornings and honest problems. But peace never lasts where pride remains. Without Elias, the court struggled. Projects failed. Advisors argued. Taxes crept upward again. The people grumbled. The nobles panicked. The king blamed everyone else. Then came the drought. Fields dried. Trade slowed. Rebellion whispered. The king, desperate, remembered the shepherd. He sent messengers again. Elias received them calmly. "The king requests your presence," they said. Elias looked at Butterhorn. Butterhorn chewed thoughtfully. "Tell the king," Elias said, "that I will come, but not as his advisor." "Then as what?" "As a shepherd." Elias stood before the king once more. "You have returned," Aldrich said stiffly. "Yes," Elias replied, "because my flock is restless. I do not see sheep." Elias smiled. "Ido." The king clenched his jaw. "What do you want?" "Permission," Elias said, "to speak honestly, without punishment." The king hesitated, then nodded. "You have it." Elias took a breath. "You're not a bad king," he said, "but you are a distracted one. You confuse praise with truth, power with wisdom, silence with agreement." The court froze. "You stopped listening," Elias continued. "So people stopped speaking. And when people stop speaking, they start leaving." The king's shoulders sagged. "What should I do?" Aldrich asked quietly. Elias smiled kindly. "Do what shepherds do. Count your flock. Care for the weak. Watch for wolves. And remember, you are not the flock. You serve it." The king closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he listened. King Aldric changed. Slowly, imperfectly, but sincerely. He reduced taxes. He dismissed flatterers. He restored trade. He asked questions. And when people praised him, he looked uncomfortable. Elias returned to his hills. Legends grew. Some said he was the wisest man alive. Others said he was lucky. But a horn said nothing. Years later, children would ask, did a shepherd really outsmart a king? Elias would smile and reply, no, I simply reminded him that even kings are part of the flock, and somewhere in the hills, a sheep would stare into the distance, wondering why humans made life so complicated.